In the Viking village of Berk, we meet Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, the weakling son of the village chieftain Stoik the Vast, and apprentice to local blacksmith Gobber the Belch, who has a plug-and-play arm. One night the village is raided by different species of dragons who have come for the villagers' sheep.
Get inside. Go on.
Believe it?
And Stoik gathers his Vikings to fight back. Hiccup wants to help, desperate to prove himself and his new invention, a double-barreled bolus launcher, but Gobber sends him back to work preparing weapons for the warriors. As the fight intensifies, Hiccup notices the Fire Brigade, a group of kids led by his crush Astrid. Hiccup thinks if he could take down a dragon, he might even get a girlfriend, but Gobber reminds him he's useless in battle. Hiccup thinks his invention would make up for his lack of battle prowess if only he could get a chance, but Gobber isn't convinced.
Let loose with everything we've got!
At that moment, a notorious dragon known as a Night Fury attacks, and Hiccup sees his opportunity to shine.
Night Fury!
When Gobber leaves to join the fight, Hiccup pushes his launcher to the cliff's edge. The Night Fury attacks once more and Hiccup fires and manages to hit it, but another dragon sneaks up on him and starts chasing and shooting flames at him. Luckily, Stoik comes to his rescue, fighting off the large dragon with his bare hands until it flies away. Despite this and other victories, the dragons get away with the villagers' sheep. Hiccup excitedly tells his father about his shot on the Night Fury, but Stoik doesn't believe him. To him, Hiccup is a walking disaster, and at this rate will never be a dragon killer.
My dad's super proud of me.
Gobber escorts a disappointed Hiccup back home, but as soon as Gobber leaves, Hiccup heads out again. Inside the Great Hall, Stoik has gathered all the village warriors with a daring and dangerous plan. Legend says a dragon nest exists somewhere nearby, and he thinks if they can take it, they could wipe out the dragons. The villagers don't share his optimism though, some even suspecting that the dragon nest may be a myth, but Stoik manages to boost their morale with a speech, reminding them they are warriors and won't be defeated by mere beasts. He then turns to the village witch Gothi, looking for a sign in her bones that they will find the nest. Gothi confirms this, and the Vikings prepare for their raid. Everyone leaves and Stoik tells Gobber he will be in charge of training the new recruits, everyone except Hiccup, not sure what to do with the boy. When he was Hiccup's age, he was going on adventures and exploring the seas, and he knew he wanted to be chieftain, but Hiccup is not like him. Gobber understands but advises Stoik that Hiccup will always be Hiccup and it's best to support him and prepare him as best as possible. At that same time, Hiccup is on an adventure of his own, tracking down the injured Night Fury, desperate to prove himself. Following its tracks, he soon stumbles upon the injured Night Fury wrapped in the bolus. Hiccup pulls his blade, prepared to finally kill the Night Fury and bring back its head, but seeing the Night Fury look up at him makes him hesitate, eventually lowering his blade. He decides instead to free the dragon, who instantly pounces at him angrily but doesn't attack. It tries to fly away, but its tail is badly injured. Hiccup tries to sneak back in that night, but Stoik is waiting on him. Stoik has changed his mind and will allow Hiccup to start dragon warrior training. Hiccup tries to explain that he no longer wants to kill dragons as he doesn't have it in him, but Stoik insists until Hiccup relents and agrees. The following day, all the new recruits, including Astrid, twins Roughnut and Toughnut, Snotlout and Fishlegs, gather. Hiccup turns up, but the group are not happy to see him, as they think he's just a spoiled kid. They spend a minute bickering among themselves until Gobber gets their attention, announcing that they will be undergoing the trial of flame. Whoever passes the test will be given the title of Top Slayer, and will be given the honor of slaying a dragon in front of the entire village. Behind each of the gates in the arena is a dragon, but today, without any training, they will face a Gronkle. Gobber releases the chubby dragon, which begins to gobble up rocks to fire as projectiles. The recruits scramble to grab their shields, but Roughnut and Toughnut are too slow and get blasted by the Gronkle. Gobber gives them tips, explaining that the Gronkle can only fire 6 blasts at a time and is weak to noise. Snotlout tries to hide behind Astrid, but gets blasted and eliminated. Astrid distracts the Gronkle, causing it to waste one of its blasts. The Gronkle then blasts Hiccup's shield and begins charging him, but Gobber protects him, forcing the Gronkle back into its cage and reminding Hiccup that dragons always go for the kill. Hearing this, Hiccup returns to the forest, wondering why the Night Fury didn't try to kill him. He goes searching for the dragon and comes upon a secret oasis inside a canyon. He He is suddenly startled by the same night fury desperately trying to escape the canyon, but to no success. As the dragon settles down, Hiccup begins to sketch the dragon when he realizes that its tail fin is damaged. He then accidentally gives away his presence, and the night fury glares at him and growls. Hiccup returns to Berk, where Gobber is going over the day's events with the recruits. He then shows them the legendary Book of Dragons, which contains years of knowledge about the beasts, and leaves them to study. Snotlout and Roughnut aren't interested in reading words, and eventually they all leave the room except Astrid and Hiccup. He now thinks maybe dragons aren't all that bad, and maybe humans are to be blamed for invading the dragon's territory. But Astrid thinks he's just a spoiled, immature brat that has never worked hard for anything in his life. As for her, she plans to wipe out the dragons and become chief, and tells Hiccup to stay out of her way. After she leaves, Hiccup goes through the Book of Dragons, where all the notes taken on dragons end with kill on sight, all except the Night Fury page, which has no info except a warning to never engage. Meanwhile, Stoik is leading the Vikings across the seas, his heart set on finding the mythical dragon nest. He takes them through Helheim's Gate, a densely fogged passage with sharp rocks coming dangerously close to their ship. The eerie silence is then broken when their ship is attacked by dragons.
Watch your head!
The following day, the trainees are put through another training, this time against a natter, a dragon that is fast and can shoot spikes from its tail, but can be defeated by finding its blind spot. Despite the danger, Hiccup is more interested in learning more about night furies. Astrid tries getting in the natter's blind spot, but Snotlout interrupts her, causing the dragon to chase her, but she fights off the dragon with her skills and forces it back into its cage. Astrid is pissed at them for slacking off, telling Hiccup to pick a side. This only motivates Hiccup more, and he heads back to the canyon oasis looking for the Night Fury, which soon appears growling, but Hiccup has brought it fish. The Night Fury, scared but hungry, slowly approaches, then snatches the fish with its retractable teeth. The Night Fury then approaches Hiccup, but it then throws up the head of the fish, intending to share its meal with its new friend. Hiccup hesitates, but the Night Fury's eyes beckon to him to eat, so Hiccup relents and takes a bite. He then tries to pet the Night Fury, but it just avoids him, and this continues until sunset. Eventually, the Night Fury comes over to Hiccup to see him drawing in the sand, so it grabs a branch and begins to mimic Hiccup. After drawing, it stands contented and eventually allows Hiccup to pet it. That night, Gobber tells the recruits his story about how he lost his arm to a dragon and teaches the recruits to go for a dragon's wings, as a dragon that cannot fly is a dead dragon. This gives Hiccup an idea, and he disappears from the group and heads to the workshop where he designs and builds a prosthetic fin for the dragon he now calls Toothless. The next morning, he brings Toothless fish for breakfast, no eels because it hates eels, and while it's distracted eating, he fits the prosthetic fin onto its tail. Toothless gets spooked and takes off with Hiccup hanging on, but he opens the fin, allowing Toothless to briefly fly before crashing into the water. Training continues with the recruits. This time they face a Zippleback, a two-headed dragon that releases gas then ignites it. Hiccup is huddled with fish legs when the Zippleback targets them, but the dragon sniffs Hiccup and backs away in fear, back into its cage, and Hiccup reveals he is carrying an eel on him. Gobber and the other recruits are shocked seeing this, and Hiccup plays it off as nothing. He then makes a saddle for Toothless, and after many failed attempts, Toothless finally makes it out of the canyon with a rough landing in a field of flowers that causes it to sneeze. He then uses this same flower to incapacitate a Gronkle in the trials, and upon learning Toothless loves scratches, he takes down a natter using this. Using all the things he learns about Toothless, Hiccup begins to become famous around the village, and he soon completes his invention to help Toothless fly properly again. Soon Stoik and the Vikings return to the village defeated, but he learns that Hiccup is turning out just as he wanted. Meanwhile, Hiccup and Toothless are high up in the sky practicing maneuvers. They both ascend above the clouds, but Hiccup's harness snaps, causing them both to start falling to the earth at breakneck speed. Luckily, Hiccup manages to remount Toothless and activates its fin in time to avoid crashing. He returns home where Stoik is overjoyed hearing about his feats during the Trial of Flame, expecting him to be named Top Slayer. Stoik then gifts him his mother's helmet, telling him to wear it proudly as he has earned it. The following day is the trial of Flame, and the recruits are facing off against a Gronkle. Astrid is determined to take the top Slayer title, but as soon as she goes to attack it, Hiccup has the Gronkle on its back. Elder Gothi then proclaims Hiccup the top Slayer, and Stoik is ecstatic. Now Hiccup has to kill a dragon for real, but unable to go through with it, he plans to escape with Toothless, but Astrid has followed him to the canyon. She is suspicious of him and demands to know what he is hiding, refusing to take no for an answer. Her aggressiveness towards Hiccup causes Toothless to reveal itself and growl at her, but Hiccup steps between them, telling Toothless she is a friend. Astrid tries running back to Berk, but Hiccup riding Toothless grabs her and brings her to a cliff, asking for a chance to explain. Astrid calms down and climbs onto the dragon's back. Toothless is still mad at her and takes her for a wild ride, content with hearing her scream until Astrid finally apologizes, and Toothless begins to soar gracefully. Astrid is convinced of Toothless, but reminds Hiccup he still has to kill a dragon tomorrow. She reminds him what the dragons have done to their people, and Hiccup knows this well, as dragons took his mother. But there has to be another way than the continuous killings. Suddenly Toothless dives and joins up with a multitude of dragons, big and small, all carrying animals, and all seemingly being drawn in a particular direction. The dragons fly through a thick fog until they get to a dragon's nest, and all drop their kills into a lava pit. Suddenly a massive titan of a dragon emerges from the lava, and snaps at the small dragons as they escape the nest. Hiccup and Astrid get back to the canyon, where she suspects that the massive dragon must be controlling the smaller dragons like their queen. She wants to tell Stoik, but Hiccup is worried about Toothless' safety and wants to find another way. Astrid also has taken a liking to Toothless, so she agrees. She then kisses Hiccup on the cheek, thanking him for the evening. The following day is the final of the Trial of Flame, and Stoik is giving a speech to the Vikings about the pride he feels in his son becoming top Slayer. As he talks, Hiccup is standing nearby with a worried look. Astrid comes to comfort him, and he asks her not to get involved if things go south, but Astrid promises to stand by him come what may. It is time, and Hiccup walks into the arena to the crowd chanting his name. He picks up a shield and a small blade expecting his usual dragons, but out of the cage steps a nightmare, its body covered in flames. The dragon slowly approaches Hiccup, who, to everyone's surprise, drops his blade and shield. He talks to the nightmare, telling it he is not one of them. Stoik orders the fight stopped, but Hiccup tells everyone that dragons are not what they think. Stoik demands the fight be stopped, angering the dragon in the process, and it starts going after Hiccup. Toothless has heard the screech of the nightmare, and sensing trouble, claws its way out of the canyon and starts heading towards Berk. Just as the nightmare is about to attack, Toothless bursts into the ring with a flame and attacks the nightmare, pushing it back into its cage. Hiccup tries to get to Toothless, but he is surrounded by Vikings going for the kill. Stoik then attacks Toothless, but Toothless overpowers him, but Hiccup stops it from blasting, which then allows the Vikings to capture it. Stoik is angry and disappointed in Hiccup for lying to everyone. Hiccup is willing to take the blame as long as they don't hurt Toothless, but this angers Stoik even more, and he wonders what Hiccup's mother would think seeing him defend a dragon. Hiccup wants to end the cycle of bloodshed, revealing that the dragons are being forced by a larger dragon on their island. Stoik only hears island and wants to know about the nest, but learns only a dragon can find it. Hiccup sees the look on his father's face and tries to warn him against going, but Stoik disowns Hiccup for joining sides with the dragons. He then prepares a fleet of ships, with Toothless bound on board his own, as he plans to use it to lead him to the nest. Hiccup and Astrid watch the ships sail away from on top of a cliff. He thinks maybe he should have ended Toothless the day he found him, and Astrid agrees, but wants to know why he didn't. After trying to avoid the question, Hiccup finally admits that Toothless reminded him of himself, scared and alone. Astrid wonders, now that he has found his reason, what he will do to help Toothless, and Hiccup resolves himself and plans to do something crazy. Meanwhile, Stoik and his ships close in on the dragon nest. They see dragons nearby, but they do not attack. Stoik then follows Toothless' head movement and guides the ship closer to the nest. Hiccup gathers all the new recruits, telling them he needs their help to stop his father from getting into trouble. He asks Astrid to lead them as their strongest fighter, and when the others wonder what ship they will use, Hiccup just smiles. Stoik and the Vikings finally arrive at the towering nest. They then set up towers to launch projectiles into the nest. As the soldiers stand ready, Stoik declares that they will end the reign of the dragons for good, and send the devils back to hell. The warriors cheer and launch their projectiles at the nest, creating an opening. Stoik urges his Vikings to attack, but the dragons fly past them, running away from something. The Vikings all begin to cheer, thinking they chased the dragons away, but suddenly the earth begins to shake and split open. The colossal dragon then emerges from the nest, crushing Vikings in its path before releasing a massive fire blast, destroying the ships. Stoik orders the survivors to the far side of the island before turning one of the slingshots towards the dragon. The attack draws its attention, and it prepares to blast Stoik. When it's hit with a fireball as Hiccup and the recruits come flying in on dragons, Astrid and Hiccup both riding one. While the others keep the dragon distracted, Hiccup gets to Toothless and starts trying to free him. In trying to distract the dragon by banging their shields, the recruits end up disorienting their own dragons, and Snotlout ends up falling onto the dragon itself, while Fishlegs and his dragon fall to the ground. The colossal dragon goes to step on them, but Snotlout smashes one of its eyes with his hammer, causing it to miss. The dragon then causes Hiccup and a still-bound Toothless to fall into the ocean, but Hiccup wastes no time and dives, trying to free Toothless, but Stoik pulls him from the water. Stoik then dives back down and surprisingly frees Toothless. Stoik tells Hiccup he was only trying to protect him, but Hiccup understands and plans to return the favor. Hiccup and Toothless then rejoin the others, and the twins help Snotlout get off the dragon. At that moment, the colossal dragon lures Astrid's dragon towards it and grabs onto its tail. So Astrid jumps into the dragon's mouth and uses her axe to smash its teeth. She continues to hack away, and the dragon prepares its fire breath, but she sees Hiccup approaching and jumps from the dragon in time to be saved from the blast. Hiccup and Toothless then blast the dragon with fire, angering it. The dragon then begins to chase after them, its massive body turning mountains into rubble. Just before it catches the duo, Hiccup turns Toothless upwards. The massive dragon chases him into the clouds, but soon loses sight of Toothless, who starts darting in and out of the clouds, firing shots at the dragon's wings, piercing them. The colossal dragon then begins to blast fire wildly, which catches Toothless' prosthetic fin. Almost out of time, Hiccup catches the dragon's attention and taunts it to dive after him. As the massive beast closes in, preparing to fire, Toothless suddenly ignites the dragon's own breath before dodging, and unable to stop its momentum, the colossal dragon crashes into a mountain. Hiccup gets knocked from Toothless and falls, but Toothless dives after him into the fire. After the dust has settled, Stoik frantically calls for Hiccup. He finds Toothless alone and injured and falls to his knees, apologizing to it. The other Vikings gather around, along with the recruits and their dragons. Astrid comes to comfort Stoik when Toothless reveals Hiccup resting in his wings. Stoik thanks Toothless again, resting a hand on its head. A while later, Hiccup wakes, surprised to see Toothless inside his room. He goes to get out of bed, but is shocked to see that he now has a prosthetic leg, and with Toothless' help he slowly begins to walk. He gets outside only to see the villagers all surrounded by and living with dragons. Stoik tells him there have been a lot of changes, and Astrid comes over and gives him a kiss. Gobber has rebuilt Toothless' fin, and they soon take to the sky with his friends, looking forward to a bright future living alongside dragons. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these two videos popping up right here, so check them out next.